Hey YouTube, welcome back to part 10 here of our multiplayer game with Unity and Node.js series. Today we're going to be going over hosting our development server. The key for the development server is to allow people around the world to connect without you having to port forward, but at the same time give you flexibility that is free. So the solution I'm going to be showing you today is completely free. There are paid options. There's also other options that may be free, and depending on your region or area, may be better for you. I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks for things you have to change in your client to connect to these servers and have a good connection for players to enjoy your game. So we're going to be going over a free couple solutions here and turning our game into online. So the first one you're going to do is you're going to be going to github.com. You're just going to sign up for a free account there. They have private repos now for free users. It's super handy. So you're going to sign up to github.com. You should come to a page that's very similar like this after you've signed in. If not, you can go up to the top right here. You can do your repositories, and it'll give you a list. And basically, you're looking for this green new button. And if you're in the repositories, it'll be over here in the middle-esque area. And you're just gonna kind of leave that there. So once you guys create accounts, just do all that. If you guys aren't familiar with Git, maybe pause the video, go check out a just general Git video. I'm gonna be kind of going lightly over things. So if you kind of want more information on Git itself, you can go check it out. You can join the Discord, and I can help you if you're having trouble. So the second thing we're going to be doing, we're going to be using a Git client. I'm not hardcore enough for the command console. So we're going to be using SourceTree. So just head over to sourcetreeapp.com here. It has the Mac and Windows version, and you should be okay. They look very similar. So even if you're on a Mac and I'm on Windows right now, you should be able to follow along still. So go ahead, download that, install it. It's going to ask you to install Git, that sort of stuff. Make sure you do click that and get it all installed. And then once you have it open, just kind of leave it there. The last thing we're going to do is you're going to go over to Heroku.com. You're going to create an account there. That's free as well. And then you're going to come to the dashboard. And it should look like this with minus no projects here. And just kind of leave that there. So we're going to be using Heroku as our development server. It's super handy. Its free tier is awesome for what it does. It connects to GitHub. It has its own connection called CLI, but it connects to GitHub. It can detect changes, and then it'll make a new build server completely free. I've been using it for like 8 months now. The downside, which as a development server isn't too bad, is that if nobody's using it, it will turn the server down. So as somebody connects to the game and the server's down, it takes about 5 seconds to boot back up, and then you're all willy-nilly ready to go. So as a development server, this is amazing. It sits on top of AWS, and eventually we will be moving our main server over to AWS. But while you're making your game and you want people to test it out, like QA, that sort of stuff, or maybe an alpha, Heroku, and there's, like I said, there's others that are out there. And there's some, if you're from Europe or whatever, there's some better ones in Europe that are just really good solutions. And as long as they all normally should work based on how our server's set up. But if you are unsure which one to go with, Heroku's free. Might as well do it. So go sign up. Go to your dashboard here. You can just get to it by clicking your left icon here. So once you have those three things set up, if you don't, pause the video right now. Just go. Just pause it. Come back. And then we're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we already have our project set up. So I'm going to be using my testing stuff because I already have a GitHub for this project. If I go take the main server and make it a submodule or whatever, it's just going to mess it up. So I'm just going to go to where my Node.js server is, go into the folder, and just kind of copy it. Just copy that location, okay? So we're going to be opening up SourceTree. So this is typically what SourceTree looks like if you have a project open with branches and that sort of stuff. And we're going to be hitting this plus button. If you're on Mac and the plus button isn't there, you can also do the file clone new. It should take you to the same spot. So we're going to open up a new tab here. These are all my local repositories I have. Repository everything. We're going to create. We're going to be pasting in our source path. If you didn't paste in, just go to browse and go find it. The title is going to be based on the folder, and we're going to set it up as a Git. And we're just going to hit create. It's going to say, hey, you want to continue? This folder already exists. There's stuff in there. And I'm like, yep, give her. Just let that go. So you should see, so we're in under file status right now. And you're going to see unstaged files and staged files. So unstaged files are files that have been changed, modified, add, removed, that sort of stuff. And you're going to see basically our whole server, because our repository has nothing. And our whole server needs to get revisioned. So we're just going to kind of do the classic stage all. Sometimes you might just want to, maybe you've done a bunch of things and you're like, I forgot to commit. You can do the individual plus buttons and make individual commits. So the staging takes a couple seconds here to go. And you should see it moves to staged files. We're going to come down to the bottom here. I'm just going to call this initial commit. Okay. And don't commit yet. Just type that in. So the other thing we're going to do, so now you have them staged, you have it set up with initial commit. We're going to go back to GitHub. So the thing we're missing is the way Git works is you kind of have a local repository that you can make changes and revisions and that sort of stuff. And then you have your remote repository. So you have to sync between the two. So like I said before, if you go to github.com and you're signed in, you should see something like this. If not, just click your icon, go to your repositories, and you'll see the new button right about where my mouse is now. So you're going to hit new. I'm going to call this game server. Call whatever you want, but it is for the game server. You can fill in the description if you want. I'm going to set the private. So private is cool because you can add collaborators. For the free GitHub, I believe it's 3. You might have to check that, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 people. Don't add a README. So the last thing we want to do is have files on our remote one different than our local. So just don't have the README right now. We can add it after. You could probably add the git ignore. I'm gonna leave it just for the server, just because it might mess things down the road. So probably in your best effort, just leave it as none. For other stuff, for Unity and stuff, you might want to. So you're gonna come to this, and it's gonna be like, hey, you don't have a project here. So you're going to copy this link here. Make sure you copy the Git part. You're going to go back to source tree. We're going to click remote in the top right. It'll say, hey, you don't have any remotes which extend the integration settings configured. Click settings. We're going to go to add. And we're going to click default remote. So that's going to be the name origin. The URL and the path is to our Git server. Our Git location, it'll say .git. I'm going to change remote account. So I'm signed in. So when you go into source tree, it's going to be like, hey, create a Bitbucket account, because that's who makes source tree. And you'll be like, okay. So just make the Bitbucket account, and then after it's done, sign. And there's an option to sign in with your GitHub after you're done. So just sign in with your GitHub. So I'm going to switch over my remote account because I have my GitHub set up. But yeah, you will be forced to set up your Bitbucket, and then and then you'll have to do your GitHub. And the Heroku settles with GitHub much much easier. So just do your stuff through GitHub. Okay, so we're gonna add the account. We're gonna hit OK. It should add this link here. We'll hit OK. We can now hit commit down here. So this is gonna commit locally. Okay. And you'll see it'll be like, hey, nothing's happened. If you go to history here, you'll see initial commit. All the files changed. You'll be able to see all the different files. What we're going to do, so the primary basis if you're new to Git is kind of you have a pull and a push method. The pull pulls new stuff from the remote server, okay? And the push pushes your changes that you made and committed to the remote server. So right now we have things locally, and if I go over to the GitHub page, I refresh, it's like, you still don't have anything set up. But if you come back over here and we hit push, we'll have to, our branch isn't created yet, so we're going to hit the little checkbox here, and it's going to say the remote branch is also we call master. We'll hit push. It'll take its time, and it's going to push our commit to GitHub. So there we go. So you're going to see a couple things. You're going to see origin/master. So remember we created the origin branch, or the origin tag, and then master. So that's where the remote server is, and then master is our branch. And as long as they're in line, then we're at the same spot. So if I go back to GitHub, just hit a nice little refresh here, you'll see all our files here. If you want to go ahead and add a README now, we can do that. We'll say, I'm not going to really type anything, I'm just going to add the README. So yeah, it's created the README here. So that means the remote now has an extra file that the local doesn't. So if you go back to source tree, you can hit pull. It should set this all up normal. Probably just hit OK. It's going to pull and create readme.md. So that's just the default tag that GitHub gets when you create the README. So now if we went to the folder where our stuff is, you should have a remote. Alright, no more right clicking. We'll go there. You'll now have like a README and stuff there as well. So you can add a git ignore, that sort of stuff if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it for now. It should be okay. Okay, so we have our Git server, okay? And we have our source tree. And what I like to do is I like to have a branch for the live stuff. I like to have stuff for the master, and I like the stuff running on Heroku to be by itself. So if you never worked with branches before, similar to how you kind of have the local repository and the online repository, branches allow you to essentially branch off your code and your files and all that and do things. So typically you do this for like, maybe you're working on a new feature, or you're working on, you launched update 1 and now you want to work on 1.1. You might create a branch for 1.1, work on that stuff, bring it into master when you're done. That way if you ever have to make a build for 1.1, you could check out the branch for 1.1, that sort of stuff. So we're going to go into branches here. Think. Is it going to work? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Sorry, on the Mac you can right click on branches. So I'm not too sure why it's doing that. Swap tabs. Not too sure why, like, you should be able to right click on it. Okay, so we're gonna use the little branch button up here anyways. So right now we're on master, that's what the little circle here is. We're gonna click branch. New branch. So you can do folder structuring as well. So we could call this like live / game server. Working copy parent. So what that's going to do is that's just going to take what we currently have and bring it over to the branch. If you've pushed commits into the feature and you need to go back a commit in order to make the branch, you can specify the commit there. We're going to check out the new branch when we're done. Okay, cool. So now we have live game server. It's just for folder structure. Super handy. You don't have to. You can just call it game server or whatever. So now we have these two are identical, and if we went and made changes on master, then it'd be different, and we'd have to go and merge master into current branch. Okay, so we're gonna head over to Heroku. You're gonna click new at this top corner. You're gonna click create new app. I'm gonna type in tutorial game server. So this is unique to Heroku, like a unique name. So you won't be able to type in tutorial game server, but just come up with your game name server or whatever. You can choose region between US and Europe. I'm gonna just choose US. and then I'm going to create the app. Cool. So it's going to take you to this deploy page. And like I said before, there's the Heroku Git, which is CLI. And it'll give you instructions if you want to do that as well. We're going to connect with GitHub here. So you should be able to do that. It'll ask you to like sign into your GitHub, that sort of stuff. And we're going to go over to, we're going to select my account in GitHub. I'm going to go to search. And then I'm going to type in and look for game server tutorial test. Oh, game server. Do we have game server? Game server. Okay. So we're going to connect the game server. So you can set this up a couple ways. So because we created the new branch, we should be able to select the branch. And because we don't have the branch here, most likely we didn't push the branch to the live server. So I'm going to go back to source tree. I'm going to hit push. Yeah, and you'll see here live game server actually was never pushed on like to our remote. So I'm going to check that to push it. Cool. So that pushed it now. So now we have a copy on our remote. If I go back to GitHub, I can refresh. You'll now see we now have a branch. We can switch back and forth. So back at Heroku, we might have to refresh this. Let's see. Yeah. Just refresh it. Should see live game server. I'm going to enable automatic deploys here. And then the first time I'm just going to hit deploy. So you can manually deploy. The automatic, it'll pick it up after like a few seconds to a minute after you've made the commits and pushed them to the remote server for that branch you've specified, which is live game server. And then I'm just going to deploy the branch here. Cool. So it's going to go through. It's going to detect it's a Node app. It's going to download all the packages. And one of the biggest things that you need to remember for the game server, I'm just going to bring it over here while it's doing that, is that the package JSON is set up correctly. So it's going to be looking for the script start. So if you do not in your package JSON have scripts with the command start, stop the video now, go add that, right? So when I start the lobby, I'm using npm start, which calls the script start here, and then actually calls node index.js. Make sure that's set up. That's how Heroku knows. I'm going to come back. Hopefully you have all green check marks like me. And it says deploy to Heroku. So in order to view your console like you would be running it in Visual Studio Code or whatever, seeing all this, you're going to go to more and view logs. And you'll see here that it has now started. So it did the build, start with the process command npm start. Found out this is like version 1 of the app or whatever. It's going to run node index.js. And then here's our console log for server started. So that's all awesome. But how do we connect to this thing? So let's go over that. So I'm going to open up my game server, and I'm going to kind of go over a little bit on what we did before to kind of preemptively get ready for this step. So in the index.js for I/O, we throw in a couple parameters, and these parameters are for the port. And I'm using 52300 as my port. You could be using something different. It doesn't really matter. But you'll see this process environment port. And what this is when you typically have a server, they only unlock specific ports for you to use. And they'll set that to the environment variable, which we're picking up here. So what it does is when you deploy remotely to AWS, all this sort of stuff, it's going to go, okay, you know what? You have access to this specific port that most likely will not be this number. Okay? And what it does is it wants you to reroute to that port. So you can't connect directly to that port on most servers. They will block you through their firewall. But they'll allow you to connect to port 80, which is a general web port, and instead reroute you to the environment port. And that's how you make your connection. So, what I like to do in the top of my files up here in index.js is I like to make some room. I'm going to open up our project here and our code networking. I'm going to copy this big fat URL that I had you copy before. And go back to the server, make a comment, and post that bad boy. Okay? Copy that comment, paste it again. You're like, well, why do you need it twice? So this one's going to be the local port, like the local connection. So like for when you're doing development testing, and then this one's going to be for the online. So for right now, while you're doing development, it makes sense that you can just flip this back and forth. When you want to make a build for somebody to play online, swap the network client URL with the online one I'm going to show you here in a minute, and you are good to go. This allows you that if you want to test the editor with the online, you can do that. If you want to test a regular build with the online, you can do that. But then the editor also can go into local mode. Okay, so we have to figure this out for connecting to the dedicated thing. So like I said before, we're going to change the port number to 80. Okay? And then we're no longer using localhost. So we're going to go back to the website, go back to your server, and you're going to copy your server name here. Okay? And the best way to get this actual number is to come down into settings. Here you go. And you'll see your domain. So you can set up actual domains to hook into your Heroku. I'm not going to be going over that because I just use a development server. But we need to find out where we actually are located, and it gives us a just kind of its own domain. So we are just going to copy this whole thing. It's much easier to work with. Come down here, we'll paste it, and we're gonna go grab just the website part, okay? And you're gonna replace 127.0.0.1 with your name of your Heroku app, .herokuapp.com:port 80, okay? You don't need the HTTPS in the front because we're connecting via a WebSocket. Beautiful. Okay, so I like to keep this here. Like I said, I'm going to copy this little guy. I'm going to go back to my game. I'm going to paste that in there. Hit save. I'm going to start. So, connections made to the server. So if we go back to our Roku app, if you have multiple screens, this works a little bit better. You are going to see we've added a new player to the server. And it works just like when we were in Visual Studio Code. And if I go in and I hit join now, and I go and I can fire, I can do everything I was normally doing. But now we're working on a live server. So now if you wanted to play with people online, you can do that sort of stuff. That concludes our deployment tutorial. And next time we're going to be going into multi-scene management. We're going to have a mini guide for that. So make sure you guys check out the mini guides for the singletons. And then I'm going to be coming out with one for multi-scene management. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be separating this stuff out. So I mean, you don't want your UI and your networking and all stuff to be in one scene. So we're going to make it a little bit more manageable. And this will set us up for adding really nice features to actually build out our game and get things like AI and our main menu and our game lobbies and all that jazz done. And we're getting very close. So right now we're able to like go online and play against each other, and soon we're gonna have lobbies, and oh yeah, it's becoming a series. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the little bell. I think there's a little bell there. You guys get notifications. Join that Discord server. I'm always on Discord. And yeah, come join the Discord server and join the community that is there. If you guys really love the tutorials, check out my Patreon. Like, go help on Patreon, and it'll help me make tutorials. You get added benefits for what kind of features you'd like to see. For example, I've had people ask me about friends lists, that sort of stuff, which is going to be in the tutorial series. But as we get past the multi-scene management, it's kind of open-ended which direction we go. We don't really have a direction that's very linear to go. So if there's a certain type of feature you'd like added, make sure you guys check out the Patreon, and you guys will get kind of priority on the way we're going to be flowing the tutorial from now on. So make sure you guys go check that out. And as always, have a good one. Hey guys, I just wanted to make sure that I give a nice shout out to all my Patreons over on Patreon. And they're going to be in the following list for you: JARON Frost, JUKERA. Hey everyone, if you guys liked the video, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, give it a like, and make sure to comment. It really helps out. And if you guys are looking to support the project further, I also have my Patreon, which will be linked in the description down below. Thank you, and have a good day.